The Hey guys, what's up?
How much if I have the mic? Sorry.
Hi Tut. Hi Rancid. Pro tip of the day: if you get food poisoning and you can't trust your stomach, don't trust a fart. Ooh. 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 I'm sorry. That's not funny. I only laugh just because of the ooh. Sorry, man. I'm so sorry. Anyway, how's everything else going?
No? Is that your final answer?
No, it's not. No, it's funny in a sad way, but still funny. I did yell, ah. I mean, it's funny, but not in the like, oh man, that's a good joke, but in the like, oh, ah. Sorry, dude. I'm just gonna give you an update on Hellpoint. I think I'm about to beat the game because I found out there are three outer gods, and I've killed two of them. So yeah, that's one thing that's happening. It's nice. Also, I'm pretty sure that I was talking last week about not being able to stream this Thursday, the 18th. It depends because I don't get off work until 7. So depending on how Thursday goes, it's a maybe. Just let you guys know. $98% of the achievements are running at 2? Dude, wow. That's actually really impressive. Excuse me. On, turn this on, do this thing, press that button, and then do this. Keep forgetting I gotta move over a little bit so that the side over here is open. I've got 2 more, and I have to combine adventure mode and reset main story to complete it. I think like 4 to 6 hours for just one of them. Dude, that's... Wow. That's loud. You know, Remnant's one of those games that I had a great time playing. Like, I think it's an excellent shooter. But I don't know if I want to 100% it. That makes sense. Yes. Right. Yes. Excuse me. Okay, I forgot what I was doing. Oh, hi. What are you doing here? I knew I hadn't seen the last of you. I come here to rest. It's quieter than the rest of the station. I hope the equipment I set up there has proven useful. You did good back there. Hope you found something useful in that junk we found. Don't take it personally, but I need to kill you. I think the DLC, there are like 200 plus rings. What? insane.
Sam Sumien,
You told me you were telling me your plan. That's right, I did.
Zajmuj masz czurak.
We won't survive much longer if we stay here.
Przecież there.
The air is getting thick, and there's no
Podchodź
food.
murnic.
I can repair the interface and use it to puncture a breach based on the coordinates for Earth or Elian, whichever answers first.
Zaporożowania.
I can do it.
At least in theory.
Dobrego.
So then,
Dobry miłość.
I've been stranded on this cursed station for years, traveling and repairing what I could. I've never had anyone to talk to until you appeared out of nowhere.
Zachować, wyrczeć.
The merge reduced Iranovo to ruins, but for some reason, it's left the two of us intact.
Podchodź murnic.
Well, enough about that. Here's the deal. There are two things that need to be done if we're going to have any chance to make it out of here.
Pomóż moczyć.
One, power the ateliers. Oh, power to them needs to be restored. I've repaired the main energy lines, but one more power relay needs to be rebooted. It lies underneath Port Iswoden,
Zajmuj masz czurak.
or Isuden. I need to repair the author's interface by building a patch conductor from parts scavenged from the station. Without it, the puncturer can't be operated, which means we can't make any
Zachować,
breaches.
wyrczeć.
So that's that. I just set you a list of components that we need to patch the conductor, as well as the code that will grant you access to the power relay. Let's do this. And then we can really get this party started. Author did mention that he was sick.
Zapytań.
Yeah, that's probably how he would put it.
Podchodź murnic.
Considering the damage caused by the merge, some kind of hardware malfunction isn't surprising. The author's strange behavior only seems to have increased over time. I mean, what gave him the idea to create you? No offense. But, enough about that. Here's the deal.
Zajmuj masz czurak. Pomóż moczyć.
Yeah, I got a lot.
Pomóż
Remind me again? No. Okay, well, I gotta look the stuff I gotta do there. Here's stuff. Okay. Okay. Let's see what we have down here. Upgrade healing method. We're going to... Well, no, we're just gonna keep doing the base one. Well, I don't know. I already do. Let's see, some of the stuff I feel like I do need. That's a firearm conductor, warrior helmet. Wait, AI patch conductor? I need nervous wiring?
The exact amount of rings is 225.
That's great. That's my well. You know what, let's do it. Boom.
Let's look at this stuff.
New armor set. Oh, snap. Kind of snazzy, isn't it?
100 amulets, but thankfully I don't need to collect them all for the 100%.
See, I don't know if I'd want to even go through all that, dude. That's just so much. What's my helmet look so? Oh.
Hey, don't fall in the hole.
So, Rancid, I'm assuming you've done multiple builds in that game. What has been your favorite?
Don't tell me the exacts, but what's been your favorite style?
I go. Really? Now, what status do you like the most? Are you doing bleed, burn? I need to go there. I need to go there.
That's where I thought I had to go.
Oh, all the statuses. Okay. Okay.
Trechować, wyrczeć. Wynie...
Okay, I understand this is kind of a task.
Że mój masz szczurak.
Connect all the other labs and your Novo Fail in
Trechować,
comparison.
wyrczeć.
I'm an architect, and I've only been there twice, but I paid it no mind. Now the author has locked himself inside, and apparently he'll open the way for you.
Zaporożowania.
Yeah, I have my own research project. But be that as it may, this would be a unique opportunity. But as I said, I can't do anything while this place is running on emergency power. Underneath the port is Sudan. Not far from the containment silos is a special relay station that we can use to trick the station into acting like the state of emergency has been lifted. If I divert enough power fast enough, the flow will be restored. And there will be no way to cut it again. So you got all that? Yeah. So does that mean... Wait. One of my... Hold on, transport.
Don't worry, when we play it together, I won't use my main.
That'd be too much.
I mean, the build that I had, I think was a headshot build with a snipper.
A snipper riffle? Yeah! Whoa, wait a minute. I don't remember this area. Opens the door.
Tank build, so you run in, apply status, mock.
So it's the janitor, huh? What? Hey, buddy. Hello. Oh, wait, I fought you before. You're a boss. You're a massive pain in my rear. Nope. Shotgun janitor. Weird build names for 500, please.
Hello. Score. Alma mater. No. I don't want all the tomatoes. I'll take the new build name. Oh, it's not a bad one. Oh, hello. If your armor wasn't so loud, I wouldn't have known you were there. So I wouldn't mind having your armor. Ooh, hello. Omni-Cube heater? I'm sorry, what? What do you do? So does this help with cold effect? Real quick. I bet that's what it does, exactly. Alright, I'm gonna know you guys with some music again. You know what I just thought about? This reminds me of Castlevania music. What Here you go. Heater spear. What? Oh, what are you? I like this. Oh, that's fancy. How much damage we do? Not much. Oh, it's because you're multi-hit weapon. Okay, my controller just stopped working for a sec. Oh, I gotta heal. I got so excited because I thought I was gonna get some gear. Okay, this weapon does like no damage. It's cool, but it doesn't do hardly any damage. I want to see what this skill is. Oh, my other sword was way better. Like, leaps and bounds better. also maxed the efficiency with that weapon out. So, all right. Oh, bye-bye. Oh, hello. One, two. Oh, no, dang it. Put killer music. Oh, wait a minute. So the sword looks cool. Hey, I just got home from trying out my new restaurant for my friend. It was an AYCE, hibachi, and sushi place. All you can eat. All you can eat. Yes, okay, I thought that's what it meant. Oh, it's a jump attack. Oh! Guys, it's a front flip. Wait, no, it's not. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I actually really, there's a Korean barbecue place here. It's all you can eat for 2 hours. Yeah, same here. Is that you can eat as much as you want, but you can't take anything home. Like, they don't even have like to-go drinks, nothing. Okay. 30 per person, 20 for kids, not even some time, no sharing. Okay, the place we go to isn't that strict. Got the artillery shield. Really? I actually wouldn't mind getting the artillery set. The Hunter's Spear in Remnant 2 is my melee weapon. Stack it with more poison, it does like 4,000 damage. Mix with the ring, it does another 1,400 bleed damage. It's crazy fun to use. Status build. So I actually don't mind burn builds in games. But I also don't like my burn builds to only do burn damage. I like a chunk of fire damage and then burn, like, dots. Links to the Past is Sanctuary theme? Let me think. Oh, you know what? I bet I know which part it is. Dark Souls camera here. Bye. It's this section right here, isn't it? Overshot it. Missed. Wait, how are you? You didn't see me. Oh no! Okay, no, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. The Brumba I made for a short time was fun, but annoying to my friends. It literally just sets everything on fire, including teammates and yourself. Aww. Tut! Looky! Tut! Looky, 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 looky! Oh! I just... Hi, honey. Just for falling to your death. I like how gravity is how I died last time, but also I'm killing all of my enemies. Yeah. That was quiet. But that was funny. Okay, that's actually really good damage from the spear. Okay. Oh crap, I'm gonna die. Wait, did you just do a rolling attack? Nuh-uh. This spear's kind of cool. Dang it. Cognition module. Okay. Try for my head. Provides a slight boost to the cognition. Okay. I'll take an increase to the brain power. Ha, we already have the best viewers, kid, thanks. Yeah, you guys are the bestest. I do love you guys. Oh, I do need to be a little chunkier with the damage, so I can make sure that the big boy and actually, you know. Okay, there we go. There's another heal. You know, I wonder if, like, items respawn. I got another column. Dude, I like the gun, too. You know what else it has? Let me show you this. Got a flamethrower on it. Well, can I show off my gun, please? But actually, I like the burst shot better. Yeah, buddy. Like this. Bang. It's actually not supposed to glow like that, though. There. It's just a visual glitch. EVA outfit. How do I get in there? Hello, damn. How do I get in there? Nope. That's not how you do it. That's how I died last time. Now, I will say this once. At this point in the game, I am fairly lost on where to go. So I'm okay with a hint if anybody does know. Hint, not just, hey, go here. We're gonna commit to this. Oh, I know where I'm at now. Hi. All right, let's see here. Oh, I don't have enough to level up? Dang, 27,000. Oh, what's that? Oh, there's some shrapnel. Sure. I wonder if that one section of the map is still locked for quarantine. Yeah, I remember those dudes. Never figured out how to get up there, though. Oh! That's how you get up there. I'm gonna do it. No, I'm not. Yeah, I know those things. Ow! Well. Yeah, I need to see those. But how? Wait, wait a minute. I went through the door and I healed? Thank you. I like how these things are just like these eerie shadow things, but I can still stack them, which I really like. What's the point of this room? They had no chance. I'm sorry, Tut. Well, technically you did have somewhat of a chance. Best cube since it's purple. Oh. Is that better? Oh, it's the trap room. No. I'm gonna go ahead and heal. Okay, I don't think this is gonna be put back together anytime soon. Yeah. But I feel like I have to go there. Like, something says I'm gonna go through those doors. It's like I have to do something with his eyeball or something. I bet it smells amazing in this room. Hey, Graham, what's up, dude? How goes the games? So far, so good. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I believe I'm near the end of the game. I know what I'm supposed to do, but I have no idea how to do it. Because the area that I'm supposed to go, I need to find a tram, and I think I'm running to the tram. hello. Oh, right. I had lock on. Well, I usually play most of my games blind. But I know if I didn't do that, oh, I died. If I didn't do that, I would go through games a lot faster. But I also feel like, I don't know, maybe you guys get more enjoyment out of the natural progression of me just figuring things out. I've asked a few times, and I've never had anyone say, no, dude, will you please hurry up and get this over with? Except for maybe Final Fantasy. That one took a while. No. There's an art to watching someone learn something in real time. Yeah. My big worry is I have such a huge backlog that I kind of want to start burning through some of that. Only give me 2. Only 2. Man. Sometimes a guide is desperately needed, though, when I've been stuck for something for years. Yeah. Yeah. Typically, if it's a stream game, though, I leave it be, and I just try to learn it. Excuse me. Because, like, I have the combat of this game down pretty well. I don't... I don't think this is the... Ooh. Okay. Oh, that's not... Oops. Or if I beat it once upon a time, sometimes I'll just say, screw it, save myself the stress of reliving the nightmare. Fair. Fair. Alright, Ghosty, where you at? You up top here? Oh! Well? That's not supposed to happen. I somehow clipped through the level. See if we can do it again. Yep. Whee! Nice. Right? Right? You don't feel robbed when it happens more than once. Like, if it didn't happen again, I would have been upset. But the fact that it happened more than once, I'm good. Oh, get smacked. Okay. Now, let's see if I can remember here. Where did I find that? Or oh, scored the brain synchronizer. Those are so nice. Disciple shield. Ooh, nice. Probably axiom. Yeah. Yes, I know you're there. Not enough. I win. La la la. You've heard of Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. But have you heard of Thespian Mace, Two Tables? You know what? We're gonna do it. We're gonna use... Where's that weapon? Come. Come. That's what I wanted. Try it again. I didn't mean like this. That's... Oh, 17 damage, that's it? How much stamina does this use? Yeah, for being a hit and run weapon like that, that's got a lot of stam drain and a lot of well, lack of damage really. Oh. Yeah, not bad. One of the reasons why I'm using this is because this game does a really neat thing that as you use a weapon, you gain proficiency with it, and you can unlock some of the weapons like laden abilities. For example, with this gun, I didn't realize that it had a flamethrower on it till later. Like fully level, I wasn't even fully leveled yet. So I'm wondering if there's a third skill with it. Ooh. This weapon is either I am not built well, and I've been heavily reliant on my big chunky weapon for too long. Or I'm not built tanky enough to just like trade back and forth with this. this is like... He uses less stamina. He's not a fan of that. I like my big SWAT. Oh, I'm dead. La, la, la. Let's at least die with some good music, right? Where's the third one? Back for you, buddy. Four. Okay. Wait, there it is. I forgot which way it was gonna go. I can't believe that worked. That's hilarious. Get cheesed. Get that quickly. That. Damn. Alright. Heal. Hey, stop whooping around on me, dude. You're on the ground. How? Yeah. What happened to that weapon, though? No, this is not... That was cool. One of the reasons why I really like this weapon is the rate at which it restores my healing abilities. It's really fantastic. Yeah, this is where the dark... Yeah. Think. this? Infused column. Entropic melee conductor. Light melee conductor. Corrupted sub shield. Or dark disciple. They have free material accelerator. I don't know. Oh, what's this? And I can't wear it. Oh man, it looks cool too. Yeah, snap, that looks cool. 8 foresight. Oh, it's super lightweight. Oh my. It gives me literally no... Oh. Ah, so that's how they do it. Okay. So if you can't wear it, you get like none of the defense. Nice. I like that actually. I don't mind my look though. Okay. I kind of want to come this direction while I'm in the nightmare stuff. If I can even get through the door. I will say I wish this song was a little longer so it didn't loop so quickly. Wait, why did that do like no damage? What's up, turtle? Hello. Oh my goodness. You are tanky. I mean, you're dead, but man, you're tanky. Can't go through there. Man. Okay. Never mind. Never mind. Let's try it again. Bye-bye. You know, I bet if I upgrade my weapons, they might do more damage. tend to do that. Like, I'll play through games my first playthrough, and I don't upgrade my weapons at all. It's not deliberate, it's just kind of happens. What if the door opens from this side? Oh. Yep, still hanging out.
Hey, Sultry. I just read your name as Christmas Blades. You're not the first person to ever say that.
I've even joked about making myself Christmas Blades every December.
But I don't want to wait 6 months to change my name. And I don't want to run the risk of losing my name.
You know how long I had to wait to finally get this name? Thank you, Chief. Oh, nope. Excuse you. You can wait your turn.
Just call yourself Christmas Slays in Discord.
Not bad. You punk. Oh, have you been playing Hellpoint in a while, or does it seem like I have a lot of content? Well, yeah, part of it, Turtle, is more of a... Well, some of his things just get lost in chat. I don't know necessarily that this game has a whole lot of content so much. It has some. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, it's not a super short game, but part of it is a matter of it's easy to get lost, at least for me. And if I just sat through and played the game without any kind of like interruption, like say I didn't stream, for example, I would probably have beaten it twice by now. But because, you know, I'm taking weeks at a time sometimes to replay the game, it just takes me longer to remember everything. Because I remember being kind of in this area, and I remember finding a tram. And I don't remember how I got to it. But I remember being there. out of range. Ow. I'm really trying to remember where. During almost something, I just run into puns. And, you know, streaking literally means running, and yeah, I know. Wait. Huh? I missed something, Turtle. I love puns. Sorry, I'm rereading all of my messages to see if I missed a message. No, stop it. And no, you didn't overstep at all. You just asked a question. I might answer a question too fully, but that's not ever to make anyone feel bad. It's just to be thorough. I give thorough answers to show, hey, yes, I am listening. And so I fully explain my... I fully explain my response just to show, hey, yes, I am listening. I'm, you know, actively... Oh, no. See, I didn't see that. Yeah, no, on my... It does not show me here. I wonder if it's on... Hold on. That did not show up. In my chatbot. Interesting. It's there in OBS, but no, it's not in my chatbot at all. I double checked it just to make sure I didn't miss the message, but in Firebot, it is not there. It goes from, I've developed subtle stems for myself, and then my wife's message with the sweat. Yeah, it's a little more than I'd like, as far as graphic content. Weird. Why did it not show that in... Because it doesn't even show off to the side from my activity feed. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, that makes more sense now that I understand the context. Nope. I was so confused. I'm like, what? You just asked a question. Oh, wait. I'm going to call him Butterball. %. Yeah, I want more stamina. I'm tired of having so much stamina. Where am I? in this crowd? What's that supposed to mean? Oh, ow. He shot me. I mean, I'm gonna shoot him too. Like, he shot me. Okay, Mr. Agile. Yeah. We jumped out a window. Okay, that was open up. Alright. Let's go higher. No, I got it. Like, I see it. I had to open up OBS, but...
Sometimes I use my Firebot screen because one, I can see messages better.
But two, it's a lot bigger. Okay, wait. I know where this door is. Yeah. Man, he tanky. So I don't break his stance at all. Pretty sure you can outrun people in shock. I would prefer that we keep, hey, what's this? What? Fine. We're not. Fine. Yep. Everything is fine. Mm-hmm. Yep. We're good. Yep. Totally fine here. We're not fine. Can't even say I hit rock bottom. Just kind of faded into space. Oh. Okay. Roly Poly is down. Oh, I thought I was gonna fall to my death again.
That would not have been a good time, guys.
Not a second time. So I do know, though, what that door... That was a door that says, you couldn't open from the side. Access denied. I remember that door. Bully that dude? I think I did. Okay, so I got my Encellian thing, but what else am I supposed to make here? Is that it? Like, is that really it? There's nothing more to this? Like, I was kind of hoping there was something up there. When I look, there's nothing. No. No. Please tell me there's a tram nearby. Please. Like, any of them? I remember going in there, doing the thing. Wait. How do I get her there? Didn't I try the vines and I just fell through them? You know what? Let's just do this. Round. Oh, wait, that is not. Yeah, I can do that. I'm supposed to get over there. So I don't think I can make that jump.
I don't think I was supposed to make that.
You can't park there. I don't know you.
How's work? You seem tired. Hey, Molly.
Work is the hardest part about my job isn't the stress. It's the inconsistent hours that I have. Like, so today and tomorrow I work 5:30 to 3:30. And then I'm off Wednesday, thankfully. And then Thursday I work 10 to 7. Friday I work 9 to 5, and then Sunday I am I'm sorry, not Sunday. Saturday I'm 1 to 10. So yeah, that's yay! No! Yes, 5:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. I'm sorry, 6:30. I get up at 5:30 to be at work at 6:30. Sorry. The lights are on. I spent all this time just for it to be like. You got no train tokens. I don't have my golden ticket. Man. Now I really don't know what to do. Oh. Well, I was almost get shot by that thing. Hello, cat. Hello. At 5:45, you say to take my son to school. It is no fun. Some people drown while other people are dying of thirst. You start by ducking and dodging. Okay, now I'm frustrated. Ha! Okay, sorry. The timing of that explosion when I went. That was so unintentional. Have fun. Wait, my ghost. I missed my ghost. Oh, I still got hit by it. Shot the rock. There's a lurk. I just hate that shit in the face. Oh, heal. You know what I should be doing? I should be using my other weapon. The one that I want to level up. So I want to see if the... want to see if it gains a skill. Because I know how to fight these dudes. I'm not kidding when I say I would like those guys' armor. I know it's stupidly chonky, but I like it. Oh, of course. All right. It makes sense that slash damage is like nothing next to all this armor. And no armor. Yeah, anyway, that's him. Yeah. Yep. 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 You know what I might do with these VODs? I might just put, like, the simplest tags, like, wandering, and then just put boss battles down. Like, that's it. Items have to respawn. There's no way they don't. Because I know for a fact I ran around this library for a, or sorry, Anathatum, for a while. I picked up everything. Hey, they got guardrails. Nice. Fine. I almost want to synchronize this breach just so that I can teleport back. How many of those things do I have? I have 3. All right. Let's go back here. Okay, you're still here. That's
Choć
good.
poćmierno, rachujki dotrzyma wyzwania. Rekum zemu ma...
Thanks for the luck. That's the guy that I'm doing the quest for right now. EVA. Okay, what's my gear that I'm wearing? Nerve suit. I don't have the EVA stuff. Okay, we're gonna make the EVA stuff real quick. There's the helmet. Oh, I don't have the broken stuff. Oh, that's sad. That's so sad. Okay. Man. Warrior saber, huh? Railgun. Damage plus 12. Yeah, why not? Neat. Yeah, so I'm trying to find out the idea of what I'm supposed to do is get in there. That room. Right there. Over there. But I don't have the key. So we're gonna look up how to do this. Um, yeah, I'm in space. Look. See? We're in space. There you go.
Holy cow, that is so long. Like, how am I supposed to find that? Okay, I'm gonna read you guys the instructions for this, okay? So this is to find one of the tram keys. Starting from the Son District, which is the control center breach, or the control center breach, exit the control center through the automated door. Pass the threshold, turn left, take 2 steps forward, and just drop down to the lower platform. From the point where you landed, just go straight ahead until you arrive at the start of the passageway, which would lead you back to the area where you fought the Arisen Congregators. Once you're there, don't go down the stairs. Instead, turn right and jump over the railing. You won't take any fall damage. You're now in some sort of trench with a high concentration of Vipers and a certain number of breakable crates that would be blocking either your or their movements. From this point, ignore the staircase going up to your left. Instead, press forward into the trench until you arrive at a crossroad with a path going left and a path going right. Take the path going left and continue until you find yourself in a vast room with no other choice than to drop down if you wish to progress further. Warning! After you drop down, as soon as you pass the corner of the wall to your right, you'll get attacked by a small transporter. This may very well be the first time you've encountered this type of enemy, so proceed with caution. Once you've gotten rid of the beast, go interact with the blue doorknob. It causes something to move, although you can't be sure yet what it could be. Afterward, head toward the only accessible staircase that will let you escape the enclosed space. Go up the stairs. You have to make a running jump, in order to reach an intermediate platform. From there, you'll have to make a second running jump to get back to where you initially came from. The second one is a bit trickier since the upper part of the character model can easily collide with the thick cables hanging from the ceiling. Hug the wall to your right and it should save you from the frustration or a failed jump. Then, just follow the path to the crossroad. At the crossroad, turn right, go forward until you reach the staircase to your right. I'm not done yet. Turn around and go up the staircase. Once you're up there, head in a diagonal, forward, and to the left, past the pillar until you reach the corner of a rectangular structure of some sort. From this point, turn slightly to the right, then go straight ahead, in the direction of the door with green lighting that you already see in the distance before you interacted with the blue doorknob in the room below. This door wasn't visible, and even less accessible. After going up a first set of stairs, you'll find yourself at a crossroad with the aforementioned door right in front of you. A path going to the right and a path going to the left. Follow the path going to the right and you'll soon arrive in a small room. Pass a first automated door to exit this room. On a narrow bridge leading to the second automated door, you'll find a breach synchronizer. Past the threshold of the second door, you'll come across one tram activation key sitting on a pedestal forward and to the right. Right? Like, all of that was just to go through all that. That's such a long thing. Do I even have this? Okay, so I have the Union Condos key. I have the Cabaret key, Seal the Snake, Seal the Patriarch, Arisen Dominion credentials, Alma Mater Institute credentials. I have the Seal of Anima, Seal of Chaos, Key to Dargis Tower, an INB vault key. Okay, so I don't have this. Oh, okay, I don't have it because I haven't been to the area. Okay, hold on. What do I need? What are these things called again?
Podchodź nurnąc. I marsz na we...
Oh.
Wyszczypać. Pomóż moczyć. Wyniesz umrę.
Telliers.
Oh, ain't 100% data.
Okay. All right. Yeah, there's so many details that were not necessary. Yeah, I know, right? Jeez, cat. Oh, I don't want video walkthroughs. Okay, let's see. I know I've done Alma Mater. Okay, I beat Uthos the Ashenborn. Okay, when I beat him... Let's see that. Okay, so... Defeat him and you get the fragment of Uthos the Ashborn. Union Kondo's key, and you will unlock the Alma Mater. Uthos Agora Breach. Yeah, I know. Okay, I've turned the lights on. Do I have that?
Dotrzymasz wyzwania. Podchodź nurnuc. Sam sumie.
Alright, hold on. Sorry, guys, give me a sec.
Yeah, I've been there to the Theodrist leggings. I have those. Yep, I got the charge prism. I have the cognition module. Got the Thespian Mace. I got the auto heal. Yep. 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 Got that. Got that. It says once you go down, okay, it says go underground, go straight to the elevator and you'll find a room with a broken monolith. This is you in the room. The walls open up ambushed by 4 small archons. After you defeat them, you get the 1 entropic shield conductor behind the monolith. Go back to the lowest level and you will find the Alma Mater lobby breach. Explore the area and you'll find a door leading back to Alma Mater atrium. This will lead you to the upper floor outside of the gallery. Okay, then what? Okay, now that's what I missed.
Okay. We have direction.
Ta-da! Ta-da!
All right. Let's see here. Transport. We need to go. Yay! Arcology underside. Wait.
Is it underside or underground?
These are the questions. Athenium. I thought I was saying Athenium. Hmm. Open the door. Oh. Okay, so I had to get here somehow. Like, there had to be some kind of... Oh. How'd you miss? It was 3 feet in front of you! Okay, this is cool. Oh, I remember why I didn't go out here. Okay. So we're gonna do this the long way. I'm gonna follow the guide.
And do it this way.
So where we fought the boss. Well, no, not that. Not that one. That was a little too descriptive, wasn't it? Oh. Okay. Yes, it did. Well, I didn't have any healing items because I used both of my my heals for the radiation cure. Yeah, that was a bit much. You know what we forgot, guys? Great music! Corner. Around the corner. That was fun. One of the things that I've still yet to understand are how some of the iframes work in this. Also, the stance breaking of some of these weapons. Because, like, some weapons are so easy to stance break. I also wish that I could, like, have two weapons. I technically do, but because, like, I could throw a pistol or a shield in my other hand, but part of me really wishes that I could just have, like, two swords. Piercing dash. Oh, that's cool. We're gonna try that. This sword has, like, crazy range. Because the funny thing is, I just brute force through it with my big old chunky sword. You guys, great stagger. It's like this sword does great damage too. It's fast. It's really that great. 17 damage is what my... Oh, I missed. Oh, get out of the corner. No! it's styled on. Okay. Anyway, that's enough of that. That door doesn't open from this side. Okay, so I'm supposed to go this way. Both these things. Okay, that's a fun weapon to use. I think the reason why I don't like this sword so much is because it does 2 hits. And the 2 hits don't do enough. Like, it's neat, but... This is the room that has where I can turn the lights on. Oh, how did that miss? I'm so serious about this. Okay. Get out of the wall. Oh, music. Actually, I can't see anything. I dodged all those bad boys. Oh, it's fancy. Man, Halo is still fun to run through. I am a fan of Halo. I'm a Halo fan, yeah. I would agree. Honestly, I think the most fun I had in Halo was not when I did my solo challenge runs. I don't think that was it. Like, I legitimately really enjoy running through Halo on, like, I can't remember if it's heroic or the one below it. Using the Halo 1 sniper pistol.
I have enough weapon. Your first look. What do you mean by legit?
I beat heroic and legendary by just using 2 players legendary mode. Ah.
Okay. Bye, cat. Bye. Bye. Have a good night. Tell Dark I said hey.
Just so I can see the secret cutscenes.
Dude shot me. Nice. Alright, let's see what this does. Woo! Okay. Lethal dodging method. Alright. Interesting. Which one? I can't remember, Hugo. Which one did you tell me was your favorite campaign? Because I remember we had this conversation one time, and I thought you said that it wasn't 2. You liked a lot of 2, but it wasn't your favorite one. If I remember right. Your favorite Halo campaign? I don't think I'm supposed to be here. I'm not.
And here I thought tonight was going to be a short stream. Your favorite is 3, ODST, Reach, and then 1.
I actually fully understand why you like ODST so much. I did really like ODST. Really? I like armor stuff. To me, that was fun.
weapon. It's a flurry weapon, but it has. Now, why would I jump down there? What would be the point? There's got to be something there. Something this jump. Sad that we're like sitting there just waylaying each other, doing no damage. Bye-bye. Ah, okay. I get it now. Oh, crap. Came here for the scrap. Alright. I don't mind the jumping stuff. Like, the parkour in this game actually is pretty cool. Not gonna lie, they did a pretty good job with it. Although... Pulse mineral. Oh, I actually needed that. Because I think that's one of the things I need for the AI. I think it was like pulse mineral and the nervous system or something. So tools and glaive. Okay. For some reason, I feel like I've done this before. Yeah. Silent cartographer time. Silent cartographer time. Have fun with that, dude. Athletic suit. That must be an upgrade. Throw at me. You probably just saved my life, actually. I did not mean to do that.
Man, I was right there. Right there.
All right. So I'm just out of range. All right. Here we go again. All of a sudden, I like spears. Something's wrong. Oh, on the backswing. Cognition handling? Okay. Still nothing on the, shot me. Oh crap. No, we're good. We're good. We're good. We made it. You can kind of adjust your fall or your jump trajectory. Okay. Weight handling. Okay. That means a lighter weapon? Yes, it does. Which is good for me because I was over 70%. below the 70% threshold. Should be okay. You've got to be kidding me. Okay. Okay. That was great, wasn't it? I bet you guys love these segments where I'm just running back to my body. It's like the coolest, isn't it? At the end. Ha! I wonder. Oh, that's so cheap. Wait. How did that miss? Excuse me. At least the enemies aren't too hard, right? Holy cow, we landed a direct hit. Yeah, that's way smarter. Yoke. Okay. Back. Missed it. Okay. So our plan is going to always be fall on the correct side or the right side. Okay. Now that we've made it to the bottom, gotta fight some dudes. We're doing. Well, just let me know that I can fall right there and I'm fine. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. This is where... Oh, nope, 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 don't you dare. So we poked the bear enough. Not enough. We thought it was enough. It was not. Okay, so now that we're down here, clearly there's something we must have missed. What did I miss? I guess I have to get this set. Right now, we're going to take a quick break. Just a quick one. All right, be right back. Hey guys, I'm back. Hello, hello. Hello. Hi, Nobunaga. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Nice. Good job, Tut. Proud of you. Okay. I still don't know exactly where I'm going, but I think I have an idea. All I was trying to figure out where to go in this, but what I'm finding out is about the game is like you do actually end up going back to areas you've already been to because new stuff is there. So I guess that's part of the re-exploration is you are running on a space station. That's one of the nice things about being on a space station is be going back. So what I'm trying to do here, an alma mater. I was a mater here. Okay. Enemies don't respawn in this game. No, they respawn. They respawn as soon as you leave the area. So if I, for example, if I leave those doors again, all these enemies come back. Which is fine because that allows for constant leveling. Oh, this is the spot that I was like, yeah, what's the point of this? I don't have the thing open that door. I'm not going to use the synchronize on that. So I only get so many of those. So no. Okay, I do remember this. This is where...
nowhere else to go, but.
Ooh, I got a skill.
There's an item over there, which means rubbing sticks to the enemy. Yes, I have it. Give them many pokes. Okay, this is the atrium. Actually, no. Ouch. Damn. Oosh. I guess we're gonna go to the atrium. Yeah, I've been here so many times. Doesn't do any more damage with the torchlight. You'd think that if you had fire on your weapon, it would do more. Hi, Shuma! Hey, buddy. I'm pretty well messed up here.
I kind of want to get back to a spot that has... a breach that I can transport around, because I need to end. I gotta be up at 5:30 in the morning. I think I'm going to bed here in about half an hour. I'm sorry, guys. I was really hoping to do a lot more than just run around in the game and, you know, not fight stuff. Wait, did I say transport or did I say synchronized breach? Welcome back. Just do what you're doing, go to sleep at 2. Oh no, not an ad break. Yeah, the little hand monsters are... There's something. Wait. There's something. Yeah. It's 10:23 here. Starting to feel being up since 5:30 too. They're gonna say like, man, it's kind of funny I get hit with all that. You know, didn't really do that much damage to me. Then I get shot by a mortar. I love the sound of these things. There we go. Okay. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. This is new. Okay. All right, we actually might make a little bit of progress. Yeah, little cats. I wonder if I exit right here, if the game saves or not. I did too, Todd. Good night, man. I'm gonna do this real fast, and then I'm gonna call it. Hey, zombie, what's up, dude? Been a while since I heard that. Hey, Manic. Hey, dude. Did I miss something? Just got home from Cali. Welcome home, Manic. Okay, that's a block. Go do the thing before I forget. Ta-da! Yeah. They purr and cuddle when you give them food. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of how people work too. You take care of them. They usually treat you well. Oh! Work is just slamming mandatory trainings to take during the furlough. Instead, I applied actual PTO against that time, so I don't have to take them. Yeah, I took the first vacation I've taken all year last week. And it was so nice. I still wish I could get hired on where my wife works, but I haven't even been able to land an interview with them. Training during furlough? The audacity is through the roof. Yeah, you'd say. Exactly, exactly. If you're gonna train me, yeah, I'm gonna be on the clock. Right around there. The entire duration of my furlough, I wanted to... Yes! The point of a furlough is, you know, not being present. Yeah. I'm sorry, zombie. Yeah. I keep a stockpile of time off for a rainy day. It came in handy this time. You are a cleanup. Oh, breach synchronizer. Those are handy. Hey, pick it up. The sad thing is, I don't really have a whole lot of time, I guess, to stockpile. I had to save all of my PTO, all of it, for the holidays. Oh, score, I know. Not worth the trade. Prepare the others. Yeah, not really. They're gonna have to figure things out without you. I'll prepare the others soon, yeah. Okay, that's pretty funny, dude. That's pretty good stuff. I was actually kind of surprised at how little time I was given off.
Since they pay me.
Nice! Imagine getting an extra PTO day for your birthday. My wife does. I don't. Oh, found it! Let's do this. You know what? Eat that. I missed. Missed. Wow. I'm actually gonna die. The camera doesn't help in this one too much, but no! I was in here too long. Nice thing though is when I die, I don't think I go back to the breach. I think I go back to the yeah, I go back here. Okay. Now I gotta remember how to get there. That's the fun part of that. Here in the breach, we went up here. Here's one thing. Yeah, ta-da! Found it. All right. Now I've got a fresh timer. This knight's gonna die. Buttons. Oh, that whole time I was trying to dodge and I couldn't because there's an invisible wall. Okay. Yeah, that's the only reason this boss is even difficult at all is because of how tiny the arena is. Yeah, that's the whole point. Okay, okay. Invisible wall is like the invisible wall cliff. I don't see it until it's too late. Yeah. You might say you always fall for it, right? Got to make my own food. No, but Naga. You gotta eat too, dude. This spear is fine, but it's not my go-to weapon. I was really hoping for a well. Wait, I got a mine? I'm not sure I can go to work today. My health isn't very good after this. Yeah, we were talking about that, dude. How you haven't been doing too well. And I hate that for you. I do hope it's nothing super serious, man. Let's try this proc. Let's see how this works. Oh, it's a time limit on it. Okay. Oh, I missed. Excuse me. You know I've used this sword enough when I know I'm gonna get hit and when I'm not. Alright, dude. I guess the wall's not invisible after all. Oh, he's dead. Archon shield. Yeah, hundreds of liters of water from my roof and lots of problems with my landlord. Dead grandfather got hit by a car, had a groin break, really high blood pressure, and last night the great thing was that the possibility was that you have a stroke because my face was going numb for some days. That's the short version of my year. Nobunaga, I don't want to cut you off, but I was planning on ending. I got a boss kill, and I think I'm gonna call it there. I gotta figure out what I gotta do in this game because I'm really lost. I kind of know what I'm supposed to do, but I gotta find a walkthrough to get me out of this. Where I'm at. My depression made check nowhere his friend has it. Nobunaga, dude, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, man. I mean this, dude. My door's open if you want to talk. Ever. Hit me up on Discord, man. I mean it. It's fine. So lost. I saw two hobbits carrying a ring. To a Vulcan. Oh, no problem. I just spent basically 3 hours playing, and I did nothing except for kill that boss. Yeah, I'm gonna find out what I'm gonna watch some walkthroughs before the next stream. And, yeah, thanks, Molly. And figure out where I'm supposed to go, find out what I'm supposed to do. Because there are some guys that are saying things are optional and some things that aren't, so I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna figure it out. So we can beat this game. Because I know I'm really close to the end. Thanks, I got a lot of help, but my physical health got a hit from being. Yeah. I hope you're able to give yourself time. That's the big thing. Give yourself time. Not something that has to be fixed immediately. It's a lot of times just a process of being able to do things. But I am going to take us on a quick raid before we do call it a night. Guys, thanks for hanging out. Good to see you. Glad I could do a semi-regular stream here. I know I've only been doing like 1 day a week, maybe 2, if at all possible. But yeah, let me double check and make sure that I can do this raid real fast, and then we're gonna call it there. Yes, I can. Oh, wait, what? There we go. Okay. I love how there. Okay. If you guys don't have the emotes, it's okay. Ta-da! All right, love you guys. Mean it. See you all soon. It may or may not be Thursday. I don't get off work till 7, so we'll see. But I'll see you guys soon. Good night. Or good morning.